You guys have been absolutely loving my DIY paint canvases over on my Instagram page, so I thought I'd film a little video and show you exactly how I get this look. Really simple and really easy to do. So if you're liking the look of these canvases, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I will show you how we do this. First thing you'll want to grab is a canvas. This one was relatively cheap, and I think it was from Hobbycraft, but you can get a range of different sizes. They tend to do them in the range and online too. The one that I use later on in the video is an A2 size. So you want to go in with some paints. I'm just using acrylics in the tones that I'd like, so these are kind of warm neutrals, doesn't really matter, and some paintbrushes. As long as the paintbrushes don't shed, you're cool. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go in with some white acrylic paint on the base. This is to create a foundation for the rest of the paint. As you can see, I've applied it quite generously, and I'm literally just starting to smush that into the canvas. You don't need to be neat with it. All I'm trying to do is create that foundation for the rest of the acrylic paints to slip and slide on top of and gel well together, and basically create the sort of abstract DIY canvas effect that I want in. Okay, so next up, what I'm going to do is go in with this light grey colour. You'll see when I apply it that it is really, really light. So it's almost kind of matching into the white paint that is underneath. That's fine. It's again just to create some more texture. It's just to give a little bit of a different tone to the canvas. And you'll see throughout the video, I get a lot braver with the paints. This was my first attempt on just a little canvas, so I didn't go too crazy. Now we're going in with some black paint. I actually didn't show you this in the intro, but I didn't have a black acrylic paint, so this is actually some furniture paint that I've got left over. It's fine, it'll dry all the same, and I just wanted to create some depth, so adding that black onto the canvas really helps to create that. You can see I'm being quite timid. I've got a little baby paintbrush and I'm just doing these tiny little swipes. You can go crazy with this. You'll see as we progress, I get a lot braver with that. Next up, we're going in with some more warm colours. This particular colour was more salmony. It was quite a pink undertone, which I didn't mind, but it wasn't what I was exactly veering to. So I limited myself with this one, and I actually picked up a different colour later on, but you'll see that I'm just kind of mixing it in to the greys and the whites underneath. I'm not trying to create independent lines of each other. I want some of it to mix up and some of it to blend well together. But you might not have picked this up, but I'm actually going in with another warmer colour, which is more sandy. You'll see here that I've picked up some cardboard. I wanted to create the effect that the paint was being dragged along the canvas. I don't think this was the right tool because it actually left me with quite a few fine lines along the canvas, which is great for texture, but it just wasn't the texture that I was aiming for. So I decided to go back in with my paintbrush and merge a lot of that back together to get rid of those fine lines, because it just wasn't the vibe that I wanted. Okay, now we're going back in with some black paint. I was getting a little bit braver here, and you'll see that, but again, I wasn't brave enough. My advice to you guys is, if you're looking for that depth in the canvas, just whack it on. You can't go wrong with this. It's abstract. It's not meant to look like anything in particular. Now I picked myself up another little tool. This I had laying around in my art supply box, and I thought this might be good for scraping along and giving that effect that I wanted to earlier. So I'm being quite timid with it, but as you see here, I've started to just drag along the paint. I thought this looked really nice actually horizontally. It kind of looks like clouds, but I ended up just dragging the paint around as much as I could and created that texture that I wanted. I then went in with some of the other colours, so I'm not only dragging along the grey and the black, but I went back into those warmer colours, that sandy colour that I liked, and I just started to drag that on a little bit more because I did want this canvas to look quite warm and neutral and not just a grey, black and white canvas as well. Okay, now we're on to the good bit. Here I am just dragging that tool along the canvas. At this point, I thought, you know what, I can't go wrong. It's just going to look how it's going to look. So I'm just going to drag this along the canvas and see what effects I can make. I'm going to do them horizontally, I'm going to do them vertically, I'm going to make them cross over each other, I'm going to make some be quite subtle, some of them be really quite thick and in your face, some of them come off the sides of the canvas, some of them starting in the middle. Just whatever I wanted, whatever I was feeling, that is what I was doing with this tool. This tool came in handy so much, and I think you could actually do the whole canvas with that, but this is how it looked and I was really happy with it. I did want to go in a little bit warmer, so I ended up opting for this rust colour. You'll see when I put it on that I kind of instantly regretted it, and I thought this is not the colour tone that I actually wanted to go for. It's a beautiful colour, but it's just wrong for this canvas. So I stopped in my tracks and I kind of just started blending that in as much as I could with the colours underneath. It still created some more warmth as I blended it into the sandy and the grey colours, but it was much more muted, which I preferred for this particular canvas. Don't watch my cleaning technique of the tools. I was just wiping them on the grass, but you know, it was going to get cut later that day, so it's okay. Now I'm just starting to mix in those colours all together. Again, it's not meant to be neat, it's not meant to be perfect. I wanted it all over the place. I wanted it to look like someone had just thrown a load of colour at the canvas, and pretty much that is what I did. And this is the final outcome. I was really happy with it actually. So once I braved that one, it was onto the big canvas. This canvas was from Hobbycraft, if I'm not mistaken. It is an A2 piece, and I felt much more free doing this canvas. Here I am going in with some of the light grey initially, just to create that base. You could do this however you want, to be honest. I ended up spreading it across the entire canvas. You could spread it across just the inner part of the canvas with maybe 1/4 of an inch border around the outside to give it that texture. And look at me, straight in with the black paint. I knew I wanted this canvas to be bigger, bolder and more in your face, so I just started whacking on some colour, going in with that tool again, that scraping tool, and I'm just dipping it into the paint pot and then scratching it along the surface of the canvas. Of course, being careful not to rip it, but just to create those different textures. And you can see already it's almost like a crosshatch design on the canvas, which I think is really pretty. So at this point I'd created my base essentially for the canvas. So I'd created those differences in directions that the paint was flowing in. I'd created some texture. Some parts were darker, some parts were lighter, and then it was time to go in with some of the other colours. So straight into my sand colour, I just, again, using that scraping tool, scratching it along the surface of the canvas to create that warmth, little bit by little bit. You don't need to go full force immediately. Less is more, and you can also just build that up. Now I'm going in with a metallic colour. You can't actually see this on the video, so apologies here, but it just added a little something different. Okay, now we're going in with the black paint again. I wanted it to be a little bit more in your face with the black, so I'm applying some more on top, again with that scraping tool. It just looks so nice. All the different directions that I was going in, just to create some difference on the canvas. Okay, now we're going in with some gold. So this just gave it that final little bit of pizzazz. So not too much, you don't want to go crazy, you don't want to distract from the rest of the canvas. Let me know what you think about the gold. I was even thinking you could go in with some gold foil leaves. That might be another video idea. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that, and I'll recreate. And at this point, we're done. That was so simple. I think it took me about 20 minutes sitting down on the grass in the sun when I got my technique down with that scraping tool, and I knew I just needed to be brave and slap the paint on the canvas. There was no holding me back. This is how the mini version turned out, much more subtle. The bigger canvas, obviously more in your face, a little bit of gold, lots of black, which I like to add that depth. And when I styled them in the house, they fit perfectly. The tones just matched up with the rest of my home, which I was really happy about. Super simple DIY, guys. You can do it yourself, and it's really cheap as well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.